Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just fresh off the streets of Conroe.
Cleveland, yeah.
Coming in from Cleveland. Melecio Franco is running for U.S. Congress, District 8. Mr. Franco, our moderator is Bob Baggin, the black shirt. The timekeeper is Ken Berlin, just on his left. And he'll give you some clues. We have about 4 minutes to tell us all the reasons why you did the right job, and then we'll go back to answer mode for the remainder of the 20 seconds. You are at liberty to choose however you are most comfortable.
Okay, I think I'm going to start out by sitting because I ran from the parking lot. Okay, is my time started? Or?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Melecio Franco, and I'm running for U.S. Congress because I believe we need new leadership in the Republican Party. Let me give you 10,000 reasons why I think I'm the best candidate. These are one of my postcards. I purchased 10,000 of these. When I was out getting my signatures, the 500 signatures to be on the ballot, I was leaving these at every door. On the back of them, it says here, let's replace our current congressman who has been arrested while in office, squandered the historic Republican majority, and voted for bailouts twice. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the only challenger in this race that has the guts to take on the incumbent directly and challenge him on his failed leadership. We're 4 weeks away from the primary, and the other two guys haven't taken the gloves off. They started campaigning months ago. I don't know what they're waiting on, but I think they're going to probably have a pretty good concession speech. This is why I'm the best candidate. You do not send a lapdog to Washington, D.C. You send a pit bull. If you do not have the guts to challenge the incumbent in the campaign, they are going to be devoured in Washington, D.C. You know, I'm a former staffer and speechwriter for Congressman Ted Poe of Humboldt. Okay, Washington, D.C. will destroy people personally and professionally to get the job done. That is the type of people that we have to deal with. And if you do not have the guts to even criticize your opponent openly in the campaign, and you expect to be elected and take on people like Nancy Pelosi and Charlie Rangel, ladies and gentlemen, that's a joke. That is probably the strongest reason why I'm the best candidate. I'm an award-winning journalist for HCN, Houston Community Newspapers. I know how to speak to one person or to 1,000 people. I consider myself very conservative. If any of you have visited my website, I hope you have. It's francoforcongress.com. I deal with issues such as right to life, the sanctity of life, illegal immigration, and these are the issues that I believe clearly distinguish me from the other candidates. I consider myself very conservative. I believe that I have the guts to stand up for our principles because the people in Washington are basically a bunch of cowards. I will stand up to our own party who betrays us and up to the Democrats because that's what we need. We need somebody who's tough as nails to confront these people, to confront the moderates and the liberals in our own party and especially in the Democrats. We're not going to rebuild the Republican Party with the same old failed leadership, but you're also not going to rebuild it with weak candidates. Tell you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in New Caney, Texas. Lifetime resident of Montgomery County. Born and raised in Texas. I graduated New Caney High School. Graduate of Kingwood College. I'm from the area. I'm not from out of state. I believe I've worked for the newspapers over in East Montgomery County, the Observer newspapers, Humboldt, Kingwood, Atascocita, Spring. Very familiar with these areas. As a journalist, I've attended local meetings, commissioners' court, city council, school board. You know, I have very great working knowledge of local government. Working for Congressman Ted Poe, I learned about the federal government side and distinguishing between these jurisdictions. You know, you don't write speeches for a man like Congressman Poe unless you think like him. And I love to write. I love to communicate. You just wait if I get elected to see the kind of speeches I give on the House floor, because I will stand up for what I believe in, and I will not back down. Thank you.
Okay, questions? Yeah, Brian?
What's going to, two-part question.
what's going to prevent you from getting, never mind my question, sorry.
Taking up my time, Brian.
Second part is, why have you been so unavailable during this campaign?
How was I unavailable?
Just, I mean, I told you like 2 or 3 times, and I got one email from you at the building website.
Well, I apologize. You know, I'm not a professional campaigner. I'm a, you know, a candidate. I've never run for public office before. I've made some mistakes, and I'm sorry I wasn't.
I'm not offended. I just try to understand. Has it been busy?
Yes,
Need
I've
help?
been busy, very busy, trying to, you know, do a lot of things at once. And like I said, I've never run for office before, and unfortunately made a lot of mistakes, like not being able to do things. I apologize for that.
You say that you're going to be a pit bull if you were to go to DC, and there's 2 things, part A, part B, to this question. In the State of the Union address last night, right after that State of the Union address, you know, was having media and interviewing the GOP, blah, blah, blah. What would you have said after hearing that State of the Union address? That's part A. And B, how would you, as the pit bull, control our borders here in Texas?
Okay, part 1, the question of State of the Union address. I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch the State of the Union address. I was at a place last night where there's real hope and change, and that's my local church. I attended First Assembly of God Church in New Caney. I've attended there since 2001, and you know, I don't miss church unless I absolutely have to. You know, I didn't watch the speech. So, how to address the issues with the border? I believe we need to put the military on the border. Mexico uses military officials. You go and visit them, the Army officials, they have a .308 Fenn-Fowl machine gun. They have Humvees with 50 calibers on top. They use real military officials. The U.S. needs to do the same. If we put the military on the border, we take the Customs border protection and deploy them on the interior of the United States and cities. We go into restaurants, construction sites, businesses, to checking their employment records, pulling their I-9 forms, making sure they are who they say they are, and making sure that these people aren't stealing identities. Then, we also need to change the birthright citizenship. If you're born in this country, and one of your parents needs to be a U.S. citizen, we need to stop granting citizenship to people where both of the parents are illegal. You know, other countries don't do that, and we shouldn't either. That's a custom, and we need to make it law. You need to have one parent that is a U.S. citizen. That would address a lot of the issues as far as the border, as far as securing the border to keep drug trafficking, human trafficking from coming across the border, going to businesses to making sure they're not hiring illegals, and then cutting the incentive of coming here illegally and having children. I think that addresses lots of the border protection issues.
But how would you do it? I mean, how would you try to get that accomplished? Because a lot of the candidates go, oh yeah, that's what we got to control the border. But then nothing happens. So how would you personally attack that situation?
You have to build consensus. You have to get other Republicans that are like-minded into office. You're not going to be able to do it alone. You have to get real conservative people elected. And that's one of the things I hope to do, is help to get real conservatives elected. You know, our county, our district is so conservative, but yet I think we lose a grand opportunity for fundraising to help other states elect conservatives. You know, there's no reason why Arkansas and Louisiana has so many Democratic congressmen. They need to be Republican, and we need to work on bringing these states to become Republican. You have to get more people in Congress, and then once you control the House, you control the budget, the spending, and then you can try to get public support for it.
Jim.
Excuse me, what do you think about the abortion holocaust, and what do you want to do about it?
Well, I'm against abortion. I think that we also have to be pragmatic. What is a solution, a political solution that we can come up with to address abortion? One of those, I believe, is funding for Planned Parenthood. This is one of my biggest criticisms of the incumbent. 2001 to 2006, they had control, but funding for Planned Parenthood continued. You know, it would take a Herculean effort of getting either a constitutional amendment or putting enough conservatives on the Supreme Court to overturn Roe versus Wade. But a practical political solution that's achievable is to cut funding for Planned